about to leave, everyone. Having some oatmeal, bananas, and almond milk for some fuel. And we'll be out here. Pretty hungry. We are currently at south of the border in South Carolina, which is on the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. I just streamed live while walking through this area. If you want to go back later and watch that video, it'll be up by in a few hours. YouTube takes 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to process live videos depending on their length. I'd say that one will probably be up in about 2 hours, maybe longer. Eating some oatmeal and some bananas and almond milk, and we will be out of here. Got a bit over 300 miles left for the day. Probably be able to stream most of that. So after we leave, we'll be going south on the 95, and then we will hit the I-20 going west. And that's basically the drive. Plus or minus, you know? Plus or minus 50, 60 miles. I don't know if you were watching the stream yesterday, but if you're wondering how I navigate, I memorize the route beforehand. And if it's really complicated, I will write down the turns and mileage per turn on a piece of paper and put it on the dash. I use the GPS sometimes. I'm not saying I'm a genius. I use the GPS sometimes, but rarely. I do the memorization paper method because I like to learn my routes instead of just relying on the GPS. So I can do a lot of these routes without looking at or memorizing directions anymore because I already know them because I've done them so many times. Or I've done them once or twice, depending on the ease or simplicity of the route. I will try to stop as much as possible to explore fun and interesting places like south of the border in the future that you guys may never be able to get to. I mean, because a lot of people in the U.S. and definitely the world are not going to be able to come to south of the border in South Carolina. That's a fact. So I get to go to these places, so why not bring you along? So that's what I'll be doing. when I have time, and I will make the time for you guys, especially if this stream gets popular. I will make the time. I think this stream, it's already helped me in terms of my mental health. So it just adds a new dimension to being out here on the truck, and that makes me happy. So even before blowing up, or if that happens at all, I'm already a bit happier. Alright guys, we are leaving. That little shake you just experienced is me ensuring that my tractor is attached to my trailer. Because if it is not, that is a big boo-boo. That would be a big boo-boo. That would be no fun to fix or explain to anyone. So I make sure that my tractor is attached to my trailer before I leave any parking spot. A few years ago, and this could still be continuing, but a few years ago it became a trend to pull the fifth wheel lever, which is the arm that you could pull to detach a trailer from a tractor. And a few years ago it became a trend to do this at truck stops of people. So if you're aware of that trend, and just for safety purposes in general, that's why I check to see if my tractor is still attached to my trailer. So here we are. Now you get the driving version of South of the Border. This is all the stuff we just walked through. I know you're going to recognize it. Pedro's truck stop, which I'm pulling out of. There's the big Mexican van in the distance. This is the bridge we just walked over together. So I hope you enjoyed today's drive. Yep, now we're going under that bridge. We got more than enough clearance. 17 feet. We are 13 feet 6 inches high, if you're wondering. I know I would wonder, so I'm pretty sure you were wondering. So this is all the stuff we just saw. That's the big Mexican man on the right. Another gorilla. A campground. Maybe we'll come back here. We probably will come back here. Maybe we'll come back here. I'll stay at the campground and the motel, and we can go on some rides and stuff. Here we are. We're headed to the I-95 South, which will take us all the way through South Carolina and into Georgia. See, that's a sign, welcome to South Carolina. We were already in South Carolina, but they put the sign there just to make sure. That literally is the border right there. Somewhere around there, right, is the border. So south of the border is like a play on two names, like south of the border, like Mexico, hence all the Mexican stuff. But the other play is south of the border because you're just south of the North Carolina border too. So double entendre or something like that. driving. A Amazon truck, one of those big Amazon semis, got in I'd say it was a bad accident. I don't think the guy got injured. He probably most likely didn't get injured, but he did take out the guardrail in the median. I think another truck was involved. I was really paying attention on just staying away from the fire trucks and the police and the ambulances. So I was like riding on the shoulder. I think it had just happened like a few moments earlier. Otherwise, I think that section of the road might have been even closed down. So yeah, like I said, I don't think he got injured, but you never know, because I mean, he might not have been wearing a seatbelt. If he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, he probably had some good injuries. But if he was wearing his seatbelt, he likely got out of it okay. Hopefully he got out of it okay. Hopefully he got out of it okay. Or she, could have been a woman. I'm gonna say he when I refer to truck drivers, usually, unless I see that it's a woman. It's because the majority of truck drivers are men. So, I'm not trying to say women don't drive trucks, just the majority of truck drivers, a great percentage of them are men, so, yeah. So I got some South Florida playing cards, and I got some much needed sunglasses, my Ray-Bans. I lost the screw somehow, don't ask me. I've had it for a few years, so I lost the screw in my Ray-Bans. So I got some temporary sunglasses before I could figure that out. And before you say anything, I know I could probably just get like a glasses kit at Walmart and fix them, but sometimes when I go to stores, I'm forgetful about things like that. I'm like, if I go to Walmart, I'm buying food, and I'm not thinking about my screw for my Ray-Bans, you know? Oh God, we got a lot of different vehicles coming on. We got an RV, a truck, and a bicycle. Anyway, I'm not thinking about things like that. I'm thinking about food when I go to Walmart and Target. Walmart's the main place I buy food. Been actually going to Target a little lately. They have some higher quality food, at least for me. Like I can get pre-made grilled chicken, which I put into rice that I make, basmati rice, and that's a really healthy lunch or dinner. So I had that a few times last week. Super excited that I found the grilled chicken at Target. On the truck, I do have a Cuisinart grill. The problem is I cannot clean it all the time. So buying pre-made food is the way to go. It obviously is more expensive, but in the end, it's less expensive than fast food and a lot healthier than fast food. So, yeah. Oh, this Lexus. I feel like we saw this Lexus yesterday. That's weird. I'd say it happens sometimes. Like he must have stopped and slept around the same time I did. So it does happen. Florida plates. So I guess he's headed back home. I recognize the car because the front bumper is jacked up and it's like coming off. I think that's the same Lexus we saw yesterday. There's probably a lot of Lexuses with a messed up bumper with Florida plates, but I think that's the same one. So comment below if it was a Lexus, because I know I pointed it out yesterday. I'm not sure, but I think it was a Lexus. If it was a Lexus, that is probably the car. If you were watching yesterday, let me know. Or fireworks. They tend to have, in the U.S., and people in the U.S. probably don't know this too, but in the U.S. we tend to have fireworks. We definitely only have fireworks in certain states. In certain states they're illegal. So what happens when they're illegal in certain states, in the states that are illegal, in the states that fireworks are illegal, in border towns you're going to see a lot of fireworks stores. So I'm guessing they're illegal in North Carolina. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm guessing they're illegal in North Carolina because of the preponderance border into Pennsylvania. There's an absolute ton
fireworks stores since they're illegal in New York. And the messed up thing about this is the messed up thing that a lot of people don't know. The state troopers, this is an entrapment. The state troopers in New York will sit a mile or so from the border with binoculars looking at cars with New York plates that are across the border, and they like specifically look at those cars as they pull in and out of fireworks stores. And then once they come back over the New York border, they'll stop them for bringing contraband, for bringing illegal fireworks back into New York State. True story. Like Colorado's fireworks are illegal, but in Wyoming they're legal. So there's a lot of fireworks stores on the border of Wyoming and Colorado. I don't know if the state troopers are as crazy in Colorado as they are in Wyoming, in Colorado as they are in New York when they're looking for people buying fireworks in Pennsylvania, but that is the case with these fireworks stores and border towns. This road might look pretty, but it's pretty bumpy. It's pretty uneven. And that's never good. And I'm sure the state or the county or whoever paid for this road, probably some federal funds too, paid it pretty heavy to get this road redone. And the fact that it's not properly graded is pretty annoying, because whoever built the road got paid really well. And this looks pretty brand new. So yeah, they did a jacked up job, as we said. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the sights. We have another beautiful day. I don't know, like every single day on the stream has been beautiful so far. It is not going to be like this into the future. I mean, maybe we're going to be blessed for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, so maybe we'll just be blessed for a while, but this is not normal. I had some bad weather. I expect some bad weather in the coming month or two too as well, because of the hurricanes that are going to come from the West African coast up through the Atlantic and into the Caribbean and hitting the south of North America and up the coast of the east coast of the U.S. And some into the Gulf. There's probably going to be some bad weather, but maybe we'll look out there too. I mean, hopefully all the hurricanes dissipate in the Atlantic Ocean, right? Hopefully they don't hit the Gulf, and hopefully they don't touch Florida. Florida has been touched way too much over the past few years, as well as Texas. And South Carolina and North Carolina got messed up last year. All the way inland as well, the hurricane had really drastic effects. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. Hopefully they get a break as they rebuild. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen for a few years, but we shall see. I know there was some bad storms last week because of the hurricane that came through. I don't think it touched land, but I think the effects from its passage along the ocean did create some bad storms. So, but we are in South Carolina. We just passed over the border of North Carolina. We partied at south of the border, and then we back on the road, headed to Georgia, headed to Atlanta. We won't actually go through Atlanta proper today. We're going to be on the outskirts. We will hit some Atlanta traffic. We'll be on the outskirts, and then we're going to go just south of Atlanta, and that will be the end of the day. And there will be no stream tomorrow because I will be taking a much needed break. We will be back on the road on Thursday. But we still got about 300 miles today, so we're all good. Many, many sights to see. All these Teslas, I'm going to try one. I'm going to try to drive a Tesla. I'm not going to buy a Tesla, but I do want to drive one very, very soon. I'm sure I can make that happen. So the picture that signifies my channel, the truck on fire, that's my photo. I'm very proud of that photo. I took that picture about exactly 3 years ago on the I-5 going south in California. So on Interstate 5 in California, I took that photo. I was going southbound, that truck was going northbound. Our traffic was slowed down to a crawl, and I took that photo. So proud of that photo. That is my favorite photo by far while I've been on the truck. So, I mean, it's just perfect. I think it's perfect as the emblem, as the signifier of this channel. So that's why it is the emblem or the signifier of this channel. Yeah, that's my photo. I did not get that from Google Images. So proud of it. So proud of the photo. I hope the person that was in that truck, or the people that were in that truck, got out alive. I have no idea if they did. But that is my photo that I took 3 years ago on the I-5. Construction zone we're going through right now. That's why the lanes are crazy, and that's why we're experiencing some bumps and things like that. They are not constructed for trucks, I tell you what. Those zones, actually, a lot of people quit during truck training because of construction zones just like that. They get really nervous going through because the lanes are narrow, the turns are a lot sharper, cars get a lot closer to you. Those zones make a lot of people quit. If you have a question or you just want to write a comment, I'm not going to be able to read them while I'm driving, but I will read them during breaks and tell you hello, and I'll definitely read them at night just to get a sense of what y'all are saying and what you want to know. But hello to everyone again. I hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. And if it's Wednesday already where you are, I hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Only a few countries are going to be Wednesday right now, right? What countries are those? Australia is probably Wednesday. Is it already Wednesday in China and like North and South Korea and Japan? Probably some like Eastern China is probably, right? Is it Wednesday? If anyone is in like East Asia or Australia, can you tell me if it's Wednesday? I feel like it's Wednesday already. Because it's like noon here on the East Coast. So I feel like if anyone's watching from East Asia or Australia, it's Wednesday already. That's what I think. And I don't know Hawaii time. Hawaii is that like the line where it becomes like it's like the earliest Tuesday is in Hawaii right now? I know, so it's 12:30 or 27 here in South Carolina on the East Coast, which means it's 9:27 in California, which means it's 7:27 a.m. in Alaska, and it should be, I know there's a difference of 5 or 6 hours depending on the time of the year, so it should be like 6:27 in GMT, 6:27 GMT PM, so 18:27 GMT London, United Kingdom, and that would like translate to like Ireland and Scotland and France and Spain and Portugal too, right? Or does like Portugal have an earlier time than like the UK and like France? And does France have different time zones? I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. Time zones are fun. Time zones are especially fun to me because I'm always like passing through a time zone. So like I said yesterday, a lot of times I don't know what state I'm in, and that's not a joke because I'm always traveling. Like I always think I'm in like the state before or after. Same with time zones. I'm like, oh, it's 8:30, and meanwhile it's 9:30 or 7:30. That happens all the time. guys don't know, this is what a flatbed looks like. It's got the tractor in front and the trailer is a flatbed. And this is a good representation of it too, because there's nothing on his deck of the flatbed. So I don't know if you could see they're curved so they could handle the tension of whatever they're carrying. The flatbed itself is curved. Going 68 miles an hour, so this is what 68 miles an hour looks like in a semi truck. Not 8.6, but 6.8. 6.8. I think we're in some, like a bad reception area right now. I'm gonna let the stream run. And I'm just gauging that off of how the subscriber count dropped so drastically. I mean not subscriber count, the viewer dropped so drastically. Got some swampland here in South Carolina. We are not that near the coast. I'm gonna say we're about 80, 90 miles west of the coast right now. Plus or minus 20 miles. I have a lot of maps memorized, but not necessarily all different points on maps. So forgive me if I am incorrect. just remember, guys, I will read your comments when we're taking a fuel stop or a stretch stop, but I can't read them while I'm driving. That would be unsafe for you and I and everyone else on the road. So I will read them when I'm stopped, and I definitely will go through all the comments at night just so I can get a general sense of how you guys are liking the stream and what you want to know. heavy. So we weigh 79,700 pounds. So that is just 300 pounds off the legal limit. So when I get fuel later, I will be right at the legal limit. The legal limit for a a semi-truck in the United States is 80,000 pounds. I weigh 79,700 right now. There are exceptions to that rule, as there are exceptions to a lot of rules in life. There are some trucks that weigh 90, 100, 110,000 pounds, and they're allowed to do so for certain reasons, depending on what they're carrying and what roads they're carrying, their equipment, or animals, their livestock, or whatever they have, grain or paper or electronics, etc. A truck full of electronics is going to be some of the lightest trucks out there. So like if a Best Buy truck is out there, his whole trailer could be filled, and there's only going to be like 19,000 pounds in the back. Even if the trailer is like full of computers and TVs, it's only going to be 19,000 pounds. So if it's windy, he's going to get pushed around. And I did drive trucks for Best Buy, so I can tell you that firsthand experience. I made some really good money with them. It was a seasonal contract. It was just for Christmas, and they paid me a guaranteed sum of what amounted to be a lot of money. And the cool thing about it was, so I was guaranteed. I'm not gonna talk about exact numbers on here, unless someone like really wants to know, and even then I might not talk about exact numbers. It was a lot of money, especially for driving a truck at least. Everything's relative. It might not have been a lot of money to someone else, but as a truck driver in America, they paid me what amounted to what would be considered a lot of money. And the cool thing about it is it was a guaranteed check every week. That means I got the same exact sum no matter how many miles I drove, and it always came out on my side. What I mean by that is, like, I never drove over a certain amount of miles that wouldn't have made it worth it for me. And if I did drive over that amount of miles, they would have paid me more anyway. So I never would have been lopsided on the deal. But it was great because some weeks I only had to drive 400 or 500 miles, and then some weeks I'd have to drive like 3,000 or 3,500 miles. Because some weeks I would just take Best Buy electronics, TVs, Apple computers, iPads, washers, dryers, whatever they sell in Best Buy, to stores that were really close in the distribution center that I was at. And then some weeks I would have to drive 2 or 3 states over. But again, it didn't matter how far I drove. It only mattered that I was working for those weeks. I got a ton of money. That was for Christmas. It lasted like 6 months. So it started, or like 5 or 6 months. It started in August and ended in January. So that was cool. That was very cool. I would do it again. It was so easy, so stress-free. And like I said, they paid me a bunch of money. And who doesn't like a bunch of money for a stress-free job? Like the job I do now can be pretty stressful at times, and I really need to eat my Wheaties and just be as healthy as I can, because it is very fast-paced, and there is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and there is a lot of, and there, it is a lot of work, and there, how do I say that? It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of work to go around. It's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of work to go around. So like if I run pretty hard, I could run even harder than I do. When I say run hard, I mean like I drive a lot of miles and I go a lot of places at all different times of the day. And I could actually drive even harder. That's how much work is available to me. Now, that's not going to be the same for every trucker, and that's certainly not going to be the same if you wanted to become a trucker and you started out. Like, you need experience, one, and you need to find the right place, too. So don't think, like, just because I make great money, you'll make great money right out of the gate. You may make, like I'm using the word may, because even if you have been a trucker for as long as me, you might not find the right company to make the right amount of money, to make the money I do. And you know, some truckers make double what I do. I make really good money. Some truckers make double what I do. Let's go through some of the truckers that make double what I do. Only like 2 sets of truckers that make double what I do, and they might not make double what I do, but they make nearly double what I do. So cattle haulers make a little less than double what I make. Those guys can pull in between $200 and $250,000 a year, and that is not an exaggeration. So their pay a week might look something like they make between like $4,500 and like $7,500 a week, and those are real numbers. I know that sounds crazy to drive a truck that you would make between $4,500 and $7,500 a week, but those are real numbers. That's not me inflating those numbers. I don't pull cattle, so I have no reason to inflate those numbers. The reason they make so much money is because those trucks are always moving. Because when cattle are in the truck, if the truck is sitting, the cattle die. Literally, they die. And that's not good for anyone. So the trucks are always moving. Even if only one guy is driving, the trucks are always moving. And that guy might have to drive, like, a couple thousand miles at a time. Like, between, like, probably 1,000 and a couple miles at a time. A couple thousand miles at a time. So the average run is probably around 1,800 miles. So he has to drive that straight. Those trucks go really fast. And it's funny, every truck but those trucks, and maybe a couple other trucks that we'll talk about later, are regulated in the U.S. Now, cattle trucks and the drivers that drive them are technically regulated, but state troopers aren't generally going to stop them for speeding, and they're not going to stop at weigh stations, because for two reasons. They're always going really fast, so they should be stopped. Technically, like if you want to break bones about it, and then they're not always overweight, but they're overweight a lot of the time, so they bypass weigh stations. And the reason they're like looked past is because of what I just said about them not being able to be stopped. So if they're not able to be stopped because of the cattle, like if they are stopped by state troopers or Department of Transportation inspectors, then the cattle might die, and then like the liability of all that is just completely messed up. So cattle haulers make between $200,000 and probably $275,000 a year. It's a backbreaking lifestyle in many ways. They're responsible for getting the cattle on and off the trailer. So sometimes they'll be mauled by the cattle. Like they'll get pinned up against like a metal post in the cattle trailer, and they'll break their arm or their leg or their pelvis or their shoulder, or they'll break some of the cattle will trample over them and just rip apart their skulls. This is all true. Sorry, I'm just speaking reality. But they do get paid a lot of money. So that is one of the highest paying trucking jobs. The other high paying trucking jobs, and I do none of these, I just know people that do them. And if you're wondering why I don't do them, I've been offered these jobs, but it's because of the stress and what's involved in order to do these jobs. Like in order to be a cattle hauler, you have to take drugs. Like you have to do cocaine or methamphetamine, because like I was saying, those trucks never stop. They only stop for like 1 to 3 hours at a time per day, maybe. Even then, they don't stop. They only stop for maybe an hour or two a day. And even then, some drivers don't even stop for that long, just to fuel. And during that 1 to 3 hour period, they might go to like a friendly pasture, just so the cattle can be let out and just like kind of roam around and eat and crap and take a pee, etc. But they don't stop. So that's why those drivers are on cocaine or meth. And the running like meme or joke or whatever you want to say about them is that they always have a toothpick in their mouth, and that toothpick they dip in like cocaine or methamphetamine and then put it in their mouth so they can stay awake and drive all those hours without stopping. So the next job that's going to be a really high paying trucking job is pharmaceutical or vaccine transport. Those guys make a really good deal of money. They don't make as much as cattle haulers, but those guys can make between 3 and 5K a week, probably on the lower end. A lot of those guys are probably making around $3,500, $3,600, $3,700 a week, which is absolutely great money. If you take that out to a 52-week year, take what, like 4 weeks off of vacation. I don't know, what are we talking? We're talking what, like 150, 160, 150K, 160K a year. So that's for pharmaceutical and vaccine hauling, and all those trailers that they're driving are refrigerated. Like I said, those are reefer trucks. That's what I told you guys yesterday. So those guys are making 150, 160, 170K a year. They get a lot of days off because one, they get paid, one, they can afford to have a lot of time off, but two, the companies that employ them want them to have time off because they don't want those trucks in ditches. They don't want those trucks crashing because they're carrying very high value goods, which are the pharmaceutical drugs or the vaccines. And the next high paying job, trucking job, the highest paying job, which is pretty much impossible to get, is going to be like military grade equipment. And I don't mean like Humvees or like 5-ton trucks that the Army or the Navy uses. I'm talking about like weaponry, like ammunition, missiles, obviously anything nuclear related. Those guys are making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year. And those, we got a situation in front of us. Did you see that cutoff with that white SUV and that black sedan? They're playing road games, and road games are never fun, and road games are never dangerous. Please be safe on the road. Anyway, those guys carrying military grade equipment are making me $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year. Those are real numbers. These are jobs that no one gets. These are jobs that you have to know someone that knows someone that knows someone to get. But there are truckers making $500,000 a year. Again, this is like the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. I'd say, if I had to guess, I would say like less than 400 truckers in the United States are making $500,000 a year. But they exist. Should you get into trucking because you think you're going to make $500,000 a year? Definitely not, because you're not going to make $500,000 a year. But there are people that make $500,000 a year on the truck. So it's like, I guess it's like anything else. Like there's NFL contracts that are like what, 30, 40, $50 million a year. If you make the NFL, which you're not going to make the NFL, like you're still not going to make that much money. You're probably going to make the league average, which is what, like 1.5 or 2.5 million, which is still a great deal of money. You're just not going to make the 30, 40, 50 million. So it's the same thing. But there is a very good chance, if you get into trucking, that you'd make as much as I do, which you could probably figure out, because I said the double number of when I was talking about cattle hauling and stuff like that. For pharmaceuticals is a job you can definitely get. Vaccines is a job you can definitely get. If you have a clean record, you can get a job hauling pharmaceuticals or vaccines. It's just, the job is more stressful. I've thought about it. Okay, so the reason, the number one reason, probably the only reason I do not haul pharmaceuticals or vaccines. When you haul pharmaceuticals, you haul vaccines. When you haul vaccines, you haul pharmaceuticals. They're one and the same when it comes to things, because they're on the same trucks. But the number one reason I don't do that is because in order to do that, you have to team drive. Team driving is when another person is living on the truck with you. And unless that person is my girlfriend, my fiance, my wife, I'm not living on the truck with someone else. No freaking way. So a team driver would be another driver where when they're driving, you're sleeping. When they're sleeping, you're driving. That's team driving. And all pharmaceutical vaccine trucks are team driving. And that is the number one reason that I do not drive pharmaceutical vaccines. Otherwise I would, because it's better money than I make now. And it's probably about the same. It might be, actually it's a little more stressful, but it would be worth it. The reason I say it's a little more stressful, they actually drive less miles than I drive, but they have to be at certain places at certain times, and they can only park in certain places because of the security of what's on their trucks. So like they can only park in at certain truck stops or certain secure lots, and I'm monitored, but like not really. You know, like I can shut off like a lot of the monitoring I have, if not all of it. Those people have like all kinds of GPS systems watching them. They have driver-facing camera. Like everything is being watched like really hard because the security of what's on the truck, because of how high value the drugs and vaccines in the trailers is. So yeah, that's a good rundown. I know people have questions about that over the last few days. So there that is. And then I guess I could tell you about like the average trucking salary in the U.S. is pretty abysmal. So there's truckers doing pretty much the same job I'm doing, and they're making half of what I make, or even less. For example, when I had that Best Buy job where I was transporting goods to Best Buy during the holiday season, during Christmas time, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, etc. I was at the company that I was working at. The average driver was making a third of what I was making, and that was a special contract. Like I said, it was like a seasonal worker contract. Funny that you can get seasonal jobs anywhere. Anyway, so like I will tell you what I was making there. I was making what amounted to like $95K a year. The average trucker at that company was probably making around $40K a year. So people would talk about what they made, like at trucker terminals and stuff like that, and I never said how much I made. They would tell me, truckers love to tell people about what they make. I don't do that. But truckers will come up to you at truck stops, find you like parked on the moon, and tell you how much they make. And I think it's the funniest thing because I've never told anyone what I make besides my girlfriend because she asked, or because like I had a girlfriend a few months ago that I probably won't talk about too much. Anyway, she drove a truck too, and she didn't ask. We just talked about how much we made, and we made at the time a lot of the time during we were dating. She made less than me. I made more than her. She made more than me. I made less than her. It was kind of back and forth, but we were pretty even. Anyway, truckers like to say what they make a lot of the time. And a lot of these guys at this company where I did the Best Buy stuff for seasonal work made like $40K a year while I was making what amounted to like $95K a year. So I certainly never told them what I made. They're like, oh, how are you doing? Like, what do you make? I was like, oh, yeah, pretty much the same as you. You know, I don't want to make them feel bad. Like, if you make $35, $40K a year, do you really want to hear that someone doing the same job as you is making more than double what you make? No, I would never want to hear that. So I'm never going to tell someone that and make them feel bad. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. But yeah, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. I think the number one reason a lot of people don't go after high-paying jobs is because they just feel secure in the job they're in at that moment, and they never like look outside it because they don't want to like stretch their comfort zone. But you gotta stretch your comfort zone, especially if you can make what amounts to more than double what you're making, right? I mean, the thing is, a lot of the reason people don't go for it is because they just don't, they're unaware of what these jobs might pay because they're not looking, and they think because a lot of the people they talk to are making the same amount as them that there's not jobs out there where they could be making so much more money. Maybe there's a little more responsibility and maybe there's a little more work, and a lot of the time that probably is the reason that they're not going after higher paying jobs, is because they don't want to work more than they already do or take on more responsibility, which equals more stress. But I think a lot of the time too is just they get too comfortable in whatever they're doing at any singular point in time. Jesus, forgive my Happens. That's what the barn says, and that's what the billboard says there. If you can't read that, the barn you wouldn't have been able to see. The billboard you might have been able to see. There's some police activity ahead. No? Okay. Nothing we need to worry about. He is going into the median to either catch speeders or just go the other way. Oh, and I didn't tell you guys, I think I guess I implied the reason I don't want to go into cattle hauling. I've been offered a cattle hauling job probably 3 or 4 times, and I thought about it because it's like so ridiculous money, like $200,000 to $275,000 a year. That's a lot of money. The reason I don't want to, or the reason I will not go into cattle hauling, is because of the drugs. I'm not going to make at all. Not the kind of lifestyle I want to lead at all. But I would definitely transport military-grade equipment if I can get that job. Not going to get that job because I don't know anyone in that arena. So like I said, if anyone's getting into trucking to make $500,000 a year, it's not going to happen for you. So don't do it for that. You can make really good money. $100,000 a year trucking jobs are not necessarily plentiful, but they are out there if you have the experience and the know-how of how to get those jobs. You will have to have a clean driving record, and a clean record as far as illegal substances goes. But with experience, you too can get a $100,000 or more a year trucking job if you want to. But this channel is not about getting a trucking job, so only if you guys really ask about it will I start talking about that again for any length of time. I know a lot of people are questioning this, but if that's what you want to keep on talking about, I will. But I don't want that to be the focus of the channel. I just want the focus of the channel to be driving, having you guys ride alongside me, and going really cool, really new, and really beautiful, fun places. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna stop the stream for a while. I think we're in a pretty bad reception area. And I will restart when we're in a more populated section. Oh, maybe not. Maybe we're in it's a little better. I'm just gauging off the of how many people are watching. But if it goes down really low again for any amount of time, I'll stop the stream. Since I know the reception is probably bad, that's why less people are watching. You know what? I'm gonna stop the stream for a little bit. Gonna restart in a more populated area a little later on today, but there will definitely be more streaming later on. So stay tuned, and I will be with